G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. So today I thought it'd be a great time to release my early fantasy and SuperCoach teams for the 2025 season. Both formats, team pickers did come out midweek and really keen to get into it. Obviously a big fan of fantasy and SuperCoach. Struggled a bit this year on fantasy, but SuperCoach we went well, finished in the top 1%. Hoping for at least to get better in fantasy for next year. But we all know with these games, a little bit of luck here and there. But yeah, it's an exciting time of year nailing some of these early teams. So going to go over mine in this video today. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you do go on to enjoy. And let's get into it. So a nice relaxing video, shall I say, before Christmas. So we'll begin with fantasy as always. We did do, of course, the reviews week in, week out. I might continue that next year. I'm not too sure yet. But let's begin with fantasy, shall we? So we'll start with defense and just work our way through like a regular team. Okay, so for D1, I'm going to be going with 𝐼𝐻𝐿, set, forget. An absolute professional this man is, and I just see him continue to get better and better. Shift into the midfield and still scored extremely well. He just has a tremendous knack on finding the footy. And I like him in SuperCoach too. He's just so impactful when he really gets his ball used forward of centre. But hey, he's also able to shift behind the ball if needed by his coach and rack up some possessions there. But yeah, just such an automatic selection, I feel. D2, going to go 𝐓𝐡𝐿 𝐎𝐥𝐝. Did not own this guy in either format all year in 2024, and it was a bit of a pain. I always really enjoy watching this guy play. Again, like 𝐼𝐻𝐿, he's just in the right spots to find the footy. He can accumulate the ball at an elite level in defence or in midfield, and yeah, you're just backing this guy to have another high production season. For D3, I'm going to go a bit of a younger player, and still have my doubts about him, but with how my team is, this is what I can really afford. It's 𝐵𝐿𝐴. One issue I do have with him is his body. He had stress reaction problems throughout this season, and that could definitely happen again next year because he's still a very young player, and his body could potentially let him down. But he's like 𝐼𝐻𝐿, and he's just such an elite accumulator. Could play a little bit more wing time, but you'd think he'd have the keys to that halfback. Now 𝐼𝐻𝐿's gone out there, and good Caleb Daniels system there. Does Fisher make the 22? I just feel like he has that freedom to really control the footy. And look, a north halfback flanker always scores well. When he returned from injury in those, that back third of this season, he averaged around 95. I think it was around 105 in SuperCoach, so he has potential. And yeah, he's just a good player to watch too. So 𝐼𝐻𝐿 for D3. D4, going to go with my captain as a Swan supporter, Callum Mills. 759k, 2021, 2022, he was an elite option in both formats. He was an elite midfielder. That's pretty much, I think we can all agree with that, especially 2022. And the past two seasons, he's just been absolutely hard done by with injury. He had a few ankle problems in 2023. I remember he had that one game where he literally got like a 7, then went down. I think it was against the Dockers. Can't exactly remember. And then last year, we all know the shoulder problems. He came in, round 18, plays a midfielder, just looked way out of whack, way out of his depth because he came in way too late, obviously, and just was basically a 100% defender. But with Dean Cox now taking the reins, and there just has to be more of a focus with contested ball. I think when the Swans are able to really show their contested prowess throughout games, Mills is that guy in the middle. He's one of their better contested players. I saw a few photos as well. Looks like he's put on even more size. He's got bloody massive guns. And he's just a professional player too. A professional act. So I'm really backing in this guy to get his body right, have a fully fit pre-season, let's hope. And if he's going to be... Look, he'll be a main midfielder, I do believe, under Dean Cox. But he could still shift behind the ball, sort of like a Will Day type, and get possessions there. But Mills, I just think 759k, if he can get back to his best, it's an absolute steal at D4. And look, I'm a Swan supporter, so there's a bit of bias behind it. There's also Kitty Coleman, who I really like as well. But both Mills and himself share the same bias. I think you've probably just got to pick the one player. Two rookies to finish it off. We'll go Toby Travaglia, highly rated, picked up from the Saints. And then we have got Beau Allen, first round pick from the Eagles, to complete our defence for now. Rookies on the bench, like we don't know yet, but I do like the look of Saad El-Haouly. He was unlucky, I felt, not to debut last year. Did get the syndesmosis, and that did hurt his chances of getting a debut. He was out for the rest of the year. And Riley Bice was a mature age of the Swans, did pick up. Not Rice, Bice. There we go. 230k. Look, he's definitely a chance to get a debut early, and I've been hearing a few good things about him. A few insiders from the club apparently said that they've been really impressed with his kicking, and that's what he's been recruited for. He's got yeah, really good attacking skill set as a halfback flanker. Okay, midfield now. Yeah, we all know fantasy, it's more of a value game compared to SuperCoach, so there's some really nice value options with like, you know, 𝐓𝐴𝐻𝐿 and Doherty, Will Day. I was like 𝐶𝐞 𝐎𝐥𝐝. I did see it did get injured again though. But we want to try and avoid as many early buy plays as possible. By the way, I'm looking down because I'm looking at my phone. I did take a photo, obviously, prior to recording, so I could remember my team. Anyways, M1, 𝐓𝐴𝐻𝐿, M2, 𝐓𝐴𝐻𝐿, and M3 for now. I'm going to go Taranto. So Butters, better SuperCoach player, but I still feel like he gets it done in fantasy because, you know, Porter are a very aggressive corridor side and he gets a lot of marks and he's still somewhat younger. You know, age-wise, he's entering into his prime, so he could continue to get better and show more consistency because, look, it happens to every player, but he still has some games where he does go missing for a quarter here or there. 𝐶𝐿, just automatic selection. He's just such a good player to watch. He just has an elite floor level of disposal. It just rarely goes under 25 touches, and that alone's about 80, 90 fantasy points. Just needs a few tackles, few marks, maybe a goal here or there, and he'll get over a ton. Very consistent player. And Taranto 1 is one I'm really warming to. Look, I don't expect Richmond to be high up there on the ladder again this heading into next year, but you don't think he'll get tagged if he has a really consistent year and he's just, you know, durability-wise, if he has a consistent year, you could see this guy getting back to some of those, like, 2023 numbers where he was looking like M1 in the competition. So I like him for 980k. And for my M4, going to go for a few, I guess, mid-prices here. Sam Doherty coming back from the ACL, 782, like it. You know, he's great as a midfielder. He can really spread and get those marks. He's good as a fantasy player. And he had an outstanding second half of the year for the Giants. And for now, I'm going to go with him. James 𝐵𝐵𝐿, 634k. It's a great price. There's just questions, though. Is he going to be thrown on that graveyard shift of an Adelaide Crows half-forward spot? Or is he going to be one of those main inside midfielders that, you know, they do have a look. There's like Saliga and Jordan Dawson, and Rankin's going to get his time in there. Will they throw Billy Dowling and Zach Taylor, a few of those youngsters in there as well? You think they'll still persist with Laird a little bit in the midfield, but could play a bit more half-back. But 𝐵𝐵𝐿 looked like, honestly, the second-best Giants midfielder in the second half of the year. Past Keneally, I know, was injured. Honestly, past Kelly a little bit too, and Callum Ward. He looked really impressive. And now he's made the move to Adelaide. I feel like he knows he has the confidence to really march into this starting Adelaide midfield. So because of that, going to back him in for now. Yeah, he's got a really good contested ability. His disposal's a bit average from watching him, but no, he racks up the tackles too. I think he had like 12 in the qualifying final against the Swans. So yeah, I like him at 634k. I just feel like every year there's a mid-pricer that really gets it done. Riley Bonner was one, for example, this year. So yeah, 𝐵𝐵𝐿 at M5. And then the rookies, I think we all know, really the obvious ones. Jagger Smith for the Blues. Sid Draper for the Crows. You never know. One could get injured, one might not debut, but you know these are looking like the best midfielders in the draft pool. Josh Smiley as well for the Tigers. Could go Lawler. In fact, I actually haven't checked how much Lawler is. He's 340. I might consider it. And then Harry Demetia, I've heard good things about so far. He was really stitched up with injury this year, but he does look the goods from what I've been hearing online. Rucks, just the classic set forget. I'd love to go Marshall, but I think Cherry's more of a must-have than Marshall because, yeah, he's just an animal, Cherry, on getting those tackles and marks. And I'm still a bit iffy on Tom De Koning, but if he's getting the solo ruck spot, you have to go with him, especially in SuperCoach. He was looking like one of the better stoppage ruckmen in the competition in a number of games he was playing in the second half of this year. Yeah, we'll go with him for now. And then, yeah, I'll just go Thomas Sims. He was a young ruck forward. He's got the DPP. And it's also Richmond. So I haven't really checked much of the fixtures of, like, you know, what days teams play on. But Richmond, wooden spoon side, you'd think they play a lot on Sunday. So it's a good loop to have. Forward line now. This is going to be, a lot of the same forward line we're going to see. Jason Horne-Francis M1. I'm still have my doubts on this man. Jack McRae, where is he? Because, geez, watching him this year, he looked honestly past him. I know he was playing half forward, but if he's going to get a really juicy inside mid-roll, I think you just have to roll with it. But, you know, he doesn't spread as well as a few other, like, mids you'd think in that Saints outfit for marks and everything. You know, he like conserves his energy. He has always more of a focus on the inside game. But if he gets a really good roll, I do think you just have to really just go with him. 𝐓𝐡𝐞 had an exciting back half of this year, so I'll have them as my F3. Bailey Smith as well for F4. You know, this is just pretty obvious, honestly. A lot of people having the same forward lines here. Caleb Daniel as well, 514k. If he gets the halfback role, I think you've got to lock him in. And Elijah Hewitt was one that had a, you know, good first year, then just, you know, like _𝐸𝐻 sort of just really stitched up with injury. I don't think he played near a game. I think he had a long-term injury. Can't really remember, but 332k. He should be, you know, one of those players running through the midfield for the Eagles. And then, yeah, forward rookies. I think Caden Cleary is one of my favourites as a Swan supporter. Really diligent player. And it was actually quite interesting. Apparently, he was very close on playing a finals game. He was very close on getting ahead of Luke Parker. And that's maybe a bit of a positive. Parker now out of the club, so he has a chance to get a debut. Oh, not a debut, or, you know, have a few games early on. And Ashton Moir, we'll just go with him for now. Yeah, exciting. A few cameos out in the back half of this year for the Blues. I'll go with them for now. And yeah, just for the utility, we'll just go Charleston now from Port Adelaide. You think if you're one of those younger Port Adelaide players might get a few more chances. I know Will Lorenz had a few opportunities. Well, Jace Burgoyne's been a few years at the club now, but he really was able to cement his spot in the 22. Yeah, you never know. Even Moraes is another one for Port Adelaide that was picked up in the draft this year that could have a crack. But yeah, there we go, everybody. 39k left over. I feel we've got a good balance. We've got the top liners, we've got the mid prices. Set and forget type of ruckman. Forward line, everybody's is the same really. And yeah, I feel like you've always got to pay up for the mid for some rookies as well. No Sam Lawler though. Do we go with him? I think we'll just yeah, we'll stick with that for now. And yeah, there's my fantasy early team reveal for 2025. Let's now move across to SuperCoach. Okay, so my SuperCoach early team reveal for 2025. As we said before, we finished in the top 1%, which, yeah, really content with for 2024. But I think in the end we finished like 1,200th overall. We should have at least finished in the top 1K, so hopefully we can improve heading into next year. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of similar plays obviously with fantasy because there's just a lot I like. Harry Sheezel for D1. Automatic, like we said in the fantasy segment. SuperCoach, I feel like he goes a bit better, especially now because he's playing in more of a midfield role, unlike the early stages of this year. And yeah, he's just a lead on finding the footy and really able to impact nicely forward of centre. Jack Sinclair for D2. Hated not owning this guy. Where is Sinclair? There he is. I hated not owning this guy. He was putting up some huge scores in the second half of the season. It was a very good trading if you did bring him in this year. But you know, he's just such a consistent footballer, this man. He's shown it the past few seasons. He's in the prime of his career. Can't really see him stuffing up and having a down year. Why would he? So D2 for Jack Sinclair. Gonna go for Max Holmes for D3 at the moment. I just think this guy's so consistent and he's a lovely user of the footy. He's not necessarily a high accumulator when you compare him to the likes of Sinclair and Sheezel, but he's so impactful with it, and that's how he gets a lot of his high SuperCoach scores. And yeah, just ultra consistent. He rarely had a bad score this year. He doesn't really have a huge ceiling, but you know, with the impact he shows, he could potentially pull some more out. And he's still young. Like he could have he could really improve a lot more of his production heading into this year. I have my doubts about him though, because I'm still going to go with Callum Mills like I have in fantasy for D4. I just think you got to lock in this guy. Either him or Kadeem Coleman, I do like. But Mills, with Dean Cox at the helm, he's got to be one of the main midfielders heading into 2025 if he is fully fit. He's had durability problems the last 2 seasons, and yeah, that's fair enough. That's a few red flags right there. But if he can just get his body right, the skipper as well of the Swans, hopefully he can pull out some nice, consistent scores like he was able to from 2021 to 2022 as an elite inside mid. And then for the last 2 in the defence, Beau Allen, similar to fantasy this is, Beau Allen. And then, yeah, we've got Saad El Hawi for the Dons. Like the look of him. He had some nice numbers in the VFL, but yeah, caught the syndesmosis problems and wasn't able to get a debut. So there you go. And then for the 2 rookies, going to go Jed Busslinger. Heard really good things about this guy heading into next year. He's one that could really yeah, get some consistent time next year. You know, they've thrown players like, you know, O'Donnell around a little bit. A few young key position players, so surely Busslinger gets his chance heading into 2025, and looks like he's put on a bit of bulk too. And then going to go Riley Bice, like fantasy in this SuperCoach video today. Just, yeah, I am liking the sound of him, and for sure, given he's a mature age, he's a lovely kick too. Could, you know, generate some big points. You know, look at Matty Roberts this year. He was able to really have a breakout year. He could be a cheekily good rookie. For the midfield now, I've contemplated it. Do I include Bontempelli? Look, the last few seasons where I've played this game, I've had Bont, and I've just set and forget, and not really too many dramas, especially with SuperCoach. I just can't go against the grain. I feel like he's got North round 1, for example, and I think he's got the Dockers round 4. There's some big games he has against opponents where he always seems to score well for himself. So I just can't miss out on, if he pulls out a 170, it just hurts you, especially in the early stage of the game. But, generally, and then one every single year does lose value, and you can pick them up cheaper. But, no early buy, so that does, it's just handy to start the Bont, I feel. Zach Butters, so creative with the footy. I always love watching him play, and he's just an electric footballer. He can get some big SuperCoach scores from time to time. Caleb Serong for M3, like fantasy, just a really consistent player, this guy. Rarely goes under 25 touches. He's a punter's dream if you do use sports bet or whatever. He's just, able to rack the footy up at a high rate every single week. We'll go with him for M3. And then there's 2 mid-prices I'm going to go with here. I think they're going to be fairly popular. Clayton Oliver for 1 and Ashcroft for the other. Now, these 2 definitely have their red flags. Oliver, still not 100% on him yet, because if he has a fully fit preseason, he gets his body right, he looks good in the preseason, I'll start him. But if there's a few issues, I just don't know. But this man was one of the best midfielders from, honestly, since 2017 to 2022, he was putting up elite SuperCoach numbers. If he can get back to his best, it's a steal at 451k. And Will Ashcroft, what a superstar he is. He had a great final series. He just obliterated us in the midfield in the grand final. But that Brisbane midfield, a lot of mouths to feed. You look at someone like 𝐓𝐿 𝐿𝐼 who puts up a 130 one week and then has a 70 or an 80 the other. I feel like Ashcroft is definitely prone to that. But this man's potential is probably the highest out of any Brisbane player, honestly, on their list. So, look, he could have a fully consistent year. And he's just a really professional guy, too, with his preparation and everything. So, 441k. I do like it. Has an early buy, but these midfielders here don't have an early buy. So, I feel like you can go with at least one. So, Ashcroft for now. Will Day's another I like for under 500k. If he gets his body right, he's under 500. It's like 490k. Like him, too. Anyways, for the midfielders now, Sid Draper. Rookies, Sid Draper, Levi Ashcroft, 185k. And then Josh Smiley. Obviously highly rated players in their draft pool from this year. Jagger Smith, included him there. Harry Demeter, also include him, like in fantasy. And then Christian Moraes. I suppose he slid a bit in this draft this year. Second round pick for Port Adelaide. Could potentially get a gig early on, but really just a placeholder for now. The rucks, set and forget, just like in fantasy. Going to go Tristan Xerri and Tom De Koning. I like also Lloyd Meek for 10k more. He's one that really does tickle my fancy. In fact, sorry lads, let me just scroll this down. I just realised this was in the way, my face cam. Apologies about that. But with the rucks, Tristan Xerri and De Koning. Xerri was just a great selection if you did start him at the start of this season. Very good value pick, and he's looking like one of the best SuperCoach ruckmen in the competition. He just racks up the tackles, gets a lot of those hugs. His head-out advantage work is okay. It's not outstanding, but he's just everywhere, and he just racks up so many points with his contested stuff. And that's similar to De Koning. Had some breakout games this year as a solo ruck. Looked like one of the better stoppage ruckmen when he was able to do with his contested possessions. And he kicked some freakish goals, I do remember. So, really like the look of him. If they run the solo ruck, De Koning, I think you've got to start. For the forward line now, Jason Horne-Francis. Got to go with the Hornet. If I can actually spell his name correct. Jason Horne-Francis for M1. Could definitely go to another level this year. High potential player. Bailey Smith for the Cats. 𝐬𝐿𝐼 𝐴𝐵 for the Saints. And I'm actually not including... not going to include Jack Macrae. I just have my doubts about him. As I said in the fantasy segment, it just looks like, honestly, from watching him this year, he just looks past it a little bit. And look, he could pull out some nice 70 and 80 scores, but he's around that mid 300k mark. I probably just prefer other players, to be honest. I do like Phillippo and Smith over them. Caleb Daniel for F4. If he gets a halfback role, got to start him. Sam Powell-Pepper had an ACL this year, 180k. It's a great price. A bit, he's one of those sugar hit type of rookies. Like Tom Lynch is, I think he's a 185k. But Powell-Pepper, explosive forward for the pair. You know, they're in dire need of him, I feel, and he could have some really good first few games where he could pull out some 90s or something like that. That would be really handy for him to generate some coin as quick as possible. And then 𝐼𝐗𝐤𝐿 for our final forward spot. And yeah, really like the look of him. Should get plenty of midfield opportunities this year coming back from injury. 122k to steal. And yeah, SuperCoach this year have introduced a flex system. I'm assuming a lot of you know already what it is. But basically this year, there's 23 in field, and your lowest score on field does not count. So it's still 22 that score, but you get an extra man on field. I'll go 𝐼𝐗𝐿𝐴 for the Dons. Looks like an exciting player. And then Dons, I feel, just really need a player like that. Someone that could really, you know, break open the game, especially in the small forward department where they do lack a little bit. They could do with, you know, look at Hawthorn, for example, Nick Watson, 𝐴𝐿𝐴 𝐎𝐥𝐝. I feel like the Dons could really do with sort of that circuit breaker, revelation type of first-year player. For some reason, I can't add 𝐻𝐿𝐴 into the flex position. But let's just add our final two rookies here, and also the ruck. Ruck is Sims. And then the final two rookies, just like fantasy, we've got Cleary. Yeah, really liking the look of this guy. And then also Ashton Moir for the Blues. And then we should just be able to swap. There we go. Beauty. Okay, so there is our team, everybody. Let's click Save Team. And yeah, if we just zoom out a little bit, I know my face cam's in the way. Can we scroll that up a little bit? But no, there you go. So 𝐼𝐿𝐴, Sinclair, Holmes, Mills, two rookies, Bont, Butters, Sarong, top liners, and then Oliver, Ashcroft have the potential to be high scorers. But, you know, remember, if you're picking these guys, you're thinking these guys can be primos, can be keepers, but at least they'll make money and you can potentially offload them. Tristan Xerri, De Koning, Horn Francis, Smith, Philippou. Going to fade McRae for now, just have my doubts about him. Caleb Daniel, Powell, Pepper, Hewitt, and 𝐻𝐿𝐴. And yeah, there's the rookies there, pretty understandable ones. We've got 53k left, so for now, there's going to be at least 500 changes to this team. That's definitely safe to say. 53k, sorry, is yeah, good to work with if we want to structure things around. But pretty content with that for now, everybody. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There is my team reveals for Fantasy and SuperCoach for 2025. Let me know some of the players you're going to be including in your teams heading into next year. It's so exciting, of course. Are you going to, you know, fade a few players? You're going to include a few players you really like that could go to the next level? Let me know down below in the comments. Always love to hear your people's opinions. Thanks very much for tuning in, everybody. Have a great and safe, happy Christmas. And until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.